You see, when I came off the road, one of the very hardest things that I done was sacrifice and give up the things that I was connected to that were creating or generating money. Very, very hard to sacrifice it. And I remember when I went from having my apartment up in Moseley Village, for those that know it, a little studio place that I had, to humbling myself, and I mentioned this in my film that documents my journey, right? And I went from giving that place up to going back to my mother's house, from money disappearing that I had at the time that was supposed to be for deposit on a new place, which dripped through my hands while I was at my mother's house. And I decided to humble myself and go in a hostel. Now, you see, when I was in that hostel, as a big-ass grown man, I had a mind state that I needed to change, right? There was no way I could have stayed in Moseley and had the desire to change and empower myself with my door still knocking and the people that would still be coming to that door, not jeopardizing what I had in mind and where I wanted to go. That was a sacrifice, but it was a small sacrifice to give up the place. So I'm in a hostel, right? I've gone from making money as a big-ass grown man, living on a gyro. Weren't easy. Trust me when I say it wasn't easy, right? I'm in this hostel. I've done 9 months in there trying to get a home for my children, right? Because I wouldn't accept a flat, because a flat wasn't part of the journey, and it wouldn't have included my children. It would have been me. I've given up that lifestyle, but now I have a flat, but I have no home for my children. So that was sacrifice number one. You know what the second biggest sacrifice at that particular time, and it required me to drop ego massively. I had thousands of pounds owed to me on the street. Thousands and thousands of pounds owed to me. And I had to make up my mind whether I was going to leave that money on the street while in a hostel, while living on a gyro, or whether I was going to pursue and try and chase that money. I decided to leave that money where it was. In that process of making that decision, I made a few mistakes, because initially I wasn't letting go of the money. And I asked for forgiveness of one particular individual. And I'm going to mention your name. Your name's Desroy. Because while I was making that transition, I was trying to work with you, and you ended up running up a debt. And me, with my non-transition self at that time, ended up doing something which was terrible. Which, for those who know, for those who don't know, I took a meat cleaver, one of those things, those butcher knives, the square, very heavy things. And I done some terrible things to this man's face. I seek your forgiveness for that, because I was learning and I was trying, but I couldn't quite let go of all the ego that was connected to me at that time. That being said, leaving that money on the street was a decision that I had to make, because wanting to make the growth and transition that I needed to make, there was no way that I could have been putting myself in the environments that I would have needed to put myself in to retrieve that money. It was a big ask as a big man to let it go. And there was people to this day, that still owe me that money. There's people, you know you are. Let me to mention one name. In fact, no, I'm not even going to spot you up your little blows and skirt. But anyway, I let that money go, and I feel free for doing that. It was difficult at the time, and there was people really and truly, when I check it, that were more worthy of that chopping, because he was more lucrative to me than most people out there that owe me money. And that don't mean, actually, when I see you now, that don't mean that I might not ask for money. And that's not ego. That's because I made the transition at the time not to be involved in the liberty that would have required me to retrieve that money. And I may see you and I may say you don't owe me the money, right? But I'm just giving you a piece of the story with regards to the decisions I had to make to empower me to continue on a path of positivity. I couldn't be running up and down trying to get that money. it wasn't part of the liberty. I had to let it go. I had to humble myself. I had to stay in the hostel. I had to live out for gyro. I had to go and do voluntary work. And from there, the empowerment started. But these type of sacrifices are the type of sacrifices when people go, how did you do it? No, I can't do that. It's doable, is the message I'm trying to say. It's doable, but it's fucking difficult. Yeah? Peace and blessings. Gone again. Gone again.